Oh, wait, that's page.
Hey, we're live.
We are live. Hopefully Yumper's on here. If he's not, we're going to fight him. There it is. Make sure that's there. Perfect. Key and White Sox fits. All right. All right. Tweet it out from that.
Sweet.
And then just write the last one from my personal.
Man, just too much work going on. Trying to get everything done for year end by the 15th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because everyone, all the sign offs I need have to be done by the 15th because everyone goes on vacation after that.
Oh, gotcha. Makes sense. Yep. We got
all that. All that pesky regulatory reporting stuff.
The mayor.
All right, I just tweeted too, so.
We got a mayor in here? My God, politics. All right, let's get going.
Yeah, it's my guy, Doug.
Hello, Doug. I'm Doug.
I'm
out of here.
My guy, Doug and I started working together in 1989.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
A year of pain for me. Actually, that's a Will Clark year. All right, let's get it going. Ready? And
oh, sad.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's time for The Tainted Glove, starring your favorite man of questionable character, Aloha Mr. Hand.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And the Holy Reverend K-Fitz himself. It's go time, so grab a beer, grab a bite, and settle in. It's time for The Tainted Glove.
Aloha and welcome to the November 29th, 2022 edition of The Tainted Glove. I am one of your co-hosts, Aloha Mr. Hand. Of course, the man with notorious questionable character, which I'm sure will be on full display very soon. And joining me, as always, is my partner, the Honorable Reverend K-Fitz. And frankly, I will probably need a couple of Hail Marys thrown my way after some of the language I may use tonight. So with that, K-Fitz, take it away.
We'll have to call Father Zoe for that. I'm Protestant, so you don't need any Hail Marys. Call the big guy upstairs. You got a direct line. Hi, how we doing, everybody, guys?
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving week and enjoyed some good eats and some good time with your loved ones and your friends and family. And I hope Aaron Rodgers had a great time with his family over Thanksgiving as well. So, but thank you guys for tuning in. We got a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to cover the Bears. It's Bears-Packers week, so the gloves are off, obviously, for us. Even as bad as the Bears may be, there's still some piss and vinegar in us regardless. So we're going to talk a little Bears, a little bit Bears-Packers, a little Bears injury bug. And then we're going to jump into Major League Baseball, some stuff that's obviously been going down over the last 2 weeks since last time we were on 2 weeks ago tonight. And we got some White Sox stuff, obviously. We lost, as a city, I think we all lost Jose Abreu. The White Sox lost Jose Abreu, who was one of their players, and the Cubs lost because they only offered him 2 years for $20 million, or 2 years, $40 million, or whatever. But we'll talk that. Some other moves, obviously the big signing, or the recent signing of Clevenger, and the hiring of the White Sox coaching staff. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the quiet Cubs offseason so far, a little bit of a yawner thus far, which is not going to bode well for the front office with fans. And then we're going to jump into some movie stuff. I believe you saw Wakanda Forever now, right? Correct? So
I did.
We can talk about that a little bit more. At this point, there's some spoilers if you haven't been paying attention. Talk a little bit about the Fablemans that I got to see the night before Thanksgiving, last Wednesday. And then just some pish-posh, mishmash, smorgasbord of stuff that probably will come up in the midst of conversation. You never know when giraffes might become a topic of discussion. So with that, let's kind of get right to it. Again, we appreciate you guys being here. But this past week, Bears, took on New York Jets in some really rough weather. Justin Fields, the Bears quarterback of the now and the future, was pulled out, did not play at the end of the week. His shoulder injury kept him out. But the Bears got beat up pretty good after a pretty good first quarter. Actually, they put up 10 points, and then that was it. So they ended up getting beat up by the
first
Jets.
2 drives, wasn't it?
First
2 drives, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fast. 120. I think it was 120 passing yards and a touchdown, and 10 points in the first quarter from Trevor Siemian in a backup role. But eventually, the cream rises to the top, and in the NFL, sooner or later, someone's going to figure you out, and they did. And the Jets put it on the Bears pretty good with a backup quarterback, or maybe now not a backup, a starter, because Zach White was good, so that sucks. But with that said,
the
Bears.
White?
Or Mike White, sorry. Zach Wilson, sorry. And the Bears are at this point now, with that loss, it's almost, again, we're almost at this point where we've already gotten where we're familiar with this, where, we've gone through the stages of grief weeks ago. And so we're really just hoping that the Bears can continue to develop and continue to improve. We see that you're seeing more of the glaring weaknesses that need to be filled in the offseason. And this is what this is for in this sense, but on a positive, the Bears, if they were to lose out, they would get, at worst, as it sets up now, a 3rd overall pick if they lose out. I have a feeling they're going to somehow snake a win or two. But so now here it is. That loss last night, not the end of the world. Justin Fields is going to get through the healthy or whatever. So let's talk about this first. This is something I really thought. I didn't include this in the rundown, but I heard a lot of fans that were really happy with Justin Fields sitting, and they wanted to be put on the shelf on mothballs for the rest of the season. And I was kind of curious what your thoughts on that were. Is that a thought? Is that something in your head? Do you feel like it helps or hinders his development? I mean, we do want to see what this kid can do before we fully invest in him. And yes, he's done some amazing things this season, but it's also important to know if a guy's injury prone or if they can survive a season, and if how they play affords them the right, the ability to stay healthy all season. I mean, a great quarterback that only can play 7 games is not really that great to me, because it doesn't really help you that much. You're playing with a backup a lot. So what are your thoughts on Justin Fields? Obviously, do you think he should return the minute he's healthy, or are you on the put the guy on mothballs and we'll see you next year kind of camp, which I've seen prevalently coming out of Bears fans a lot more lately?
If he's healthy, I want him out there getting experience. If he's healthy. If he is not healthy, I have no problem putting him in bubble wrap, sitting him on the corner of the bench, letting him listen on a headset, and letting the other team take their licks. Let the other guys take their licks. Because let's face it, there's no playoffs. The only thing you're playing for is draft position. While, yes, I would love to see a winning culture being built, let's be honest. How much of this roster is going to be here next year? Even if you try to build a winning culture, you're going to have to do it over again, because you're going to have probably 20 guys that'll be swapped out in the offseason, if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I want him to get the experience. Of course, we want him to beat the Packers, without question. Without question. But I don't want to see another Derrick Rose, where you're playing him in garbage time, and he sustains an injury and is never the same. So I'm of both sides on this argument. The main thing is he's got to be 100%. And you sort of knew he was not starting on Sunday when I saw the tweet, and I believe I forwarded it to you guys Saturday afternoon, where they boarded the plane and he still hadn't been cleared medically. Like, there's no chance in hell he's playing if he has not been cleared medically yet. Because if he hasn't been cleared medically, in theory, he can't practice. Right? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and if we get the same. The difference is they're at home this weekend. So you won't get that Saturday update saying, oh, he's boarding the plane, but he hasn't been medically cleared yet. And I really want to hear who's taking the reps, because I don't think he's going to be out there playing Sunday. And the other problem, if the weather gets shitty, I don't want him out there playing either. Because
That's a
with
good
five,
one. I think we're on the same page with. Don't put him out there in a situation where he can like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the the 5 pieces of Swiss cheese that is the offensive line. The part of the reason he's gaining so many yards is because he's running for his damn life, and they realize, hey, we could build some plays off of this, but he doesn't know how to slide to take the safety, so he doesn't have to take the hit. He doesn't know how to slide properly, so he leaves himself open to some pretty jarring hits. So I just think it might be better for the long term to have him sit out. But again, if he's 100% healthy, I want him to get the experience.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I know that's sort of I know that's sort of a political answer, but you have to be realistic about the situation. The main question is, if he goes out there, is he 100% healthy? And frankly, I don't see how he could be.
Okay, and that's something we're going to see. What do they say tomorrow? We'll have an update tomorrow. I believe that's what they said. So we'll have he gets that first practice of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He'll see how last week. I mean, he flat out said last Wednesday if today was a game I couldn't play. So we'll see what his comments are after tomorrow.
Right.
You'd like to think though. I mean, it's Packers week.
Right.
You'd like to think that the franchise quarterback wants to go out there and stick it to the rival, but again, the future does matter. And I love what you said was a really good point. Is the weather. If the weather is not optimal and there's a chance that this could be some sort of additional injury, you don't want to risk that kind of stuff. But you also don't want, again, like I said, you don't want to take a guy's chance for development. And the front office needs to see Justin Fields over the duration, because you also need to see what works best to pair with him too. You need to know what, constant analytics. You need to have a lot of this analytic stuff. And I will disagree with you. I know you said the slide thing. He's a great slider. He's a shortstop, for God's sakes, but he doesn't know when to slide. That's his problem. Doesn't know.
Okay.
His slides are gorgeous.
That's a better way to put it.
Gorgeous, but when he just needs to know.
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah. But it is Packers week. So as we move kind of on for that kind of discussion, Aaron Rodgers, typical, before the game even started, in a game that they were going to get their ass kicked in the first place, they're already talking about his thumb. It's always Chris Collinsworth could not speak enough about how hard it is for Aaron Rodgers to even play. So he has an excuse when he gets boat raced, and he didn't even get boat raced, but obviously it was demonstrative. And now it's his ribs, and now it's this, and it's he looked like he just didn't want to be out there, to be honest. And so as a result, he left. Of course, the X-rays came back negative. He didn't have broken ribs, or anything. It turns out he's just kind of a candy ass. And so they brought out Jordan Love, and as Bears fans, we've been mocking Jordan Love, and I mock him a ton. I got to watch him in college, and he literally he padded his stats against UNLV and San Jose State. That's it. I think almost 80% of his touchdowns came his last year of college against UNLV. I think it's like 7. And then I think San Jose State, I think it was 6 or something like that, like ridiculous.
Right.
And he had, I think, 15 or 18 touchdown passes total. So he beat up on the low-hanging fruit. So he was very inaccurate. He wasn't, he could run, but that was it. And he was brought in. And of course, the first play of the game, or one of the first few plays of the game, they basically ran a bunch of slants over the middle where it was soft. And he happened to hit a throw a high schooler could make, and he hit Watson on the fly. Watson is a freak. The safety for Philly took a terrible angle. If you watch the replay, like he did a weird horseshoe move, and Watson broke it for like a 65-yard touchdown pass. And all of a sudden, Packer fans are like, "Screw Rodgers. We don't need Rodgers. We got Love."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Whoa!" They turned. So it's great for us as Bears fans, because basically right now, because of how in that limited scope, running the same exact play over and over again. That's all it was. It was a slant from the left, a slant from the right, slant from the left, maybe a screen pass. That's it. And anybody that has a good linebacking core is going to really, stop that. And I think that they didn't plan on Jordan Love. So it's hard. It's much different when you're schemed against, as opposed to just, hey, oh crap, this guy's in, because you're scheming against Rodgers all week, because he has the ability to blow everything up any given week. And so with all that said, now the Packers fans, a lot of them are calling for Jordan Love. They're F you, Rodgers, go on, get him out of here. He shouldn't play. So as Bears fans, we're getting to watch kind of the beginnings of some a quarterback controversy that's dividing the Packer fans. Now they think that Jordan Love is the next Aaron Rodgers, and they want to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. And, it's blah, blah, blah. So this is kind of fun to see, but it's possible that on Saturday, if Rodgers doesn't play, which he will, Trust me, he will. Jordan Love versus Justin Fields, part 1. And that would be pretty cool to see as well. But for you, who would you rather see this weekend at quarterback for the Green Bay Packers? And
I'd rather Jordan Love, without question. I'd rather see Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers is like the boogeyman. Just when you think you got him down, he pulls some shit out of his ass, and then he's screaming in the end zone, I still own you. So, it's the 30 years of Favre and Rodgers have left an indelible mark on my Bears fandom, or some might call it Bears fan dumb. But I just would rather see Jordan Love because I don't think we're going to see Fields. I'll put that out there right now. I don't think he's been cleared yet. From the way they described it Sunday morning, he failed all 3 parts. He didn't get medical clearance. He couldn't protect himself with that left shoulder. And I forgot what the third one was. It might have had something to do with, they were just but there were 3 factors he had to clear. He cleared none of them. I don't see him clearing all 3 this coming week.
Okay. And Brian makes a good point. He says, Brian, from one of our sibling shows, It's Getting Drafty Pod, which has their
Get Drafty in here. Yeah.
Get Drafty in here pod, and I will not name the time in which they have their broadcast this week because he decided to go against my other podcast and Pinwheels and Ivy. But tomorrow night they're going to be drafting
that bastard
8-bit video games with a couple special guests. So make sure you tune in tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you turn in at 8 p.m. Shanghai time.
Central.
Shanghai time. So that's what time it will be. But no.
No, I think you want to say 8 p.m. Hawaiian time.
Yeah, 8 p.m. Hawaii time. There you go. Hey, you can always go back and watch the stream. No, but he writes, I have a feeling the Bears know and want Fields sitting, but want to throw nonsense to the media to keep stringing fans along that he might play. That's entirely possible. Yeah. I think that would be pretty weak on a front office. I think
that's what they were doing last week.
Because you want to be able to see. No front office wants to go. I think people assume that this front office is so all in on Fields that they're going to just ignore development and ignore the fact that they do need to see something else. They need to see as much as possible because the more data, the better, really. And to make better decisions, especially with your roster in the offseason. Like, what kind of an offensive lineman do you need? What are the more data you get, the better tendencies you get a feel for, and you know what type of players you need to get, what type of dogs you're going to get in the, hog mollies in the trenches, what type of wide receivers work well with the way that he plays, and you need to see that. So I'm not entirely sure the Bears front office wants him sitting. I think that that's more of a fans, please don't get this guy killed. He's the best quarterback we've ever seen in our lifetime as a Chicago Bear. That's probably the best. We're all like, please God, put him in bubble wrap because don't let the chosen one die. Don't someone kidnap the golden child, and we have to go get the dagger of Ashanti. So with that said, the Bears are not winning.
Can I jump in real quick?
Oh, sure.
Can I just jump in real quick? There's one other factor to consider. I agree with you. I think the front office would prefer to see him out there because let's face it. What's the worst draft pick they're going to get? 4, 5 at the absolute worst. So is he your quarterback? They have to have that answer at the end of the season because where they're probably going to be drafting, there may be a quarterback there. And the question becomes, do you draft the quarterback or do you trade that pick for more picks? And I don't know if they have a firm answer on that yet.
And that's true. And if he doesn't play the rest of the season, he really is only going to go into his third year as a guy that has like how many starts? Like basically the equivalent of one rookie season.
20?
Yeah. I mean,
20
it's not
total,
great.
I think.
So that also is a big part of development. You can, especially as bad as this Bears defense is, he's not getting better at practice most of the time. He's not facing anything. So he maybe has to play just because he's not going to get any challenges at practice. That's really enough to like help him develop as well. But you mentioned something that's a real good point is the draft picks, right? And here's a question that's something that really I've seen debated a little bit now. The higher the Bears get as a pick, the more question marks a lot of fans have is why did the Bears go out and trade a second round pick for Chase Claypool And now that they know that they're going to have possibly this really high pick, and for me, before I let you kind of tap on this too, look, if you could get a wide receiver that's as proven as Chase Claypool is, even at worst as a number 2, as a possession receiver, a guy that can go up and get the football, which is the one thing he's proven he can do. If you put the ball up there, he can go get it. I mean, he had a fantastic catch this weekend. You get that for a second round. That's a guarantee. A second round pick is never a guarantee. No picks are really, but Chase Claypool, you kind of know what you're getting. That, to me, if I could draft a possession receiver like Chase Claypool, who can use a couple gimmick plays with him too, a couple carries here and there. Maybe he's not your number 1, but if you can get a number 2 receiver and they're going to be a number 2 receiver for an offense that has also a very good tight end like Cole Kmet, et cetera, I take that. I think that's pretty balanced to me. Personally, that's like a can't miss second round pick. Because you're not trying to get a number one receiver with your second round pick. That's called shooting for the lottery, unless there's just a massive crop of great wide receivers out there. So, what do you think? Do you think that the Claypool mistake, or the Claypool pick trade, trade for a pick? Do you feel like that was now in hindsight a mistake, or do you feel like it's TBD, or do you think that it seems to maybe hold a little bit of weight or water?
I think the mistake in the Claypool trade was not a mistake. I think the mistake made with the trade, as Baloney points out, was the second round draft pick they gave up for it. Why didn't they give up the Ravens draft pick instead of their own? That's the only flaw I have with that trade. I would have preferred to see them give up the second rounder they got from the Ravens, because that's guaranteed to be lower than the Bears. So what? The second rounder, you figure, what's that, like 35, 36, somewhere around there probably. It's hard to say. The draft order isn't set yet, so we're just spitballing here, but we know that they're going to be in the first top 5. But Brian brings up a great point too. If they hadn't given up the pick, Claypool would be a Packer. So there might be some gamesmanship there where you had to give a little more to get the deal done, offer something a little more than the Packers offered. You're on mute. Fids, you're on mute.
Sorry. I would say, sorry, I was letting you go. According to Tankathon right now, if the season ended, the Pittsburgh Steelers would have the 34th pick in the draft in the second round, and the Bears would have the 56th pick in the draft. I do see that. I see that Baltimore pick going higher. I actually do see Baltimore fading down the stretch. And their schedule gets a lot more difficult. So hopefully they can, get tanked a little bit. It screws my fantasy team up a little bit because I got Lamar Jackson, the most frustrating quarterback in fantasy this year. Miami forfeited the 29th overall pick, by the way, for their nonsense with the
hiring practice nonsense.
So that really makes the pick the 34th or the 33rd pick in the draft. Right. Everybody moves up one. Miami gets the shaft.
Yep.
So that's an interesting. On the mock draft, though, it's kind of interesting right now where the Bears are at. They got the Bears taking Will Anderson from Alabama with the second overall pick. You got Bryce Young going first. Yep. And you got Bryce Young, quarterback from Alabama, going first. You got C.J. Stroud going third. So like you said, these quarterback-hungry teams, if the Bears know they have a quarterback they can rely on, the Bears could very easily take that draft pick, maybe trade for a first this year, a first next year, and maybe an extra second higher up in the draft. Maybe a team like Carolina that needs a quarterback, right? And Carolina trades that 5th pick and a second-round pick, and all of a sudden the Bears are now back in that 30s in that second-round range. Houston, another one. I honestly, you look at Houston. Let's just look at the order. I mean, you got the Lions need a quarterback, which they're going to get one, obviously. So you get the Panthers. You've got possibly Houston. The Raiders now at this point, but they're not going to take a quarterback first. You got the Houston Texans, who got that pick, I think, via the Browns. You got the Jaguars; they don't need one. Steelers don't need one. Lions, no. Colts might need one, and they got them drafting Will Levis from Kentucky. But maybe they want to trade up and get a big one. So maybe you can take advantage of the team there. So there's some quarterback-hungry teams this year in the draft that very well may be there. And Brian makes a great point. If they didn't, guess who might be a Packer right now? Claypool.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter now anyway. I mean, it's not gonna depends on who's throwing the ball, I guess.
Yeah. But I just again, I would like to see him play, but it has to be the right conditions. Don't play him for the sake of playing him. Play him because he's 100% healthy.
Oh, sure. Yep. So with this now too, it's Packers week. So real quick, let's just reminisce about the good old days. Sorry, that song always gets in my head on the car ride, and I walk into school, I'm like, hey, sorry. I don't even know who sings it either. Let's take it back to the good old days. Sorry. Anyway, so let's get to a reminisce of happy points. What for you is your favorite Bears-Packers game, Bears-Packers moment? We talked about the nightmare moments a couple weeks ago, I believe, because we talked about that Halloween thrashing that when I was at my great-grandma's funeral in Mississippi on a Halloween night or whatever. So for you, what's your favorite Bears-Packers moment or game or whatnot?
My favorite was in 2006 and 2007. And the mayor on here was actually with me in 2007. We went up to Green Bay to see the Bears and Packers play. And the Bears won both times. So it was a glorious day to just let the Packer fans have it. And I just remember the University of Wisconsin marching band came out at halftime in 2007. And on all the tubas and trumpets and everything else, they had the covers over them. And it spelled out, it was either Rex is our quarterback or Rex Grossman. It was one or the other. I can't remember, but it definitely was about Rex Grossman.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bears just kicked their ass. So it was a glorious day to go to Green Bay and see the Packers get their ass kicked by the Bears. Now,
nice.
I will say this also. As much as it pains me to say this, Lambeau Field blows away Soldier Field. Absolutely blows it away for watching a football game. And I do encourage everyone, any football fan, regardless of what team you cheer for, anyone to go and see a game in Green Bay. Because it is incredible. It is an incredible mecca for football. And the best part of it all is that they're in the Packer Hall of Fame Museum, whatever they called it, you know. They talk about how the Bears had to rescue the Packers from financial ruin in like the 30s. So it's like, you're indebted to us forever. Yes, you may have more wins now than the Bears do because of years of Bears mismanagement. We get it. But you're indebted forever to the Bears for saving your ass.
Mm-hmm. People forget this too. I didn't realize this until I just looked. I figured Lambeau would be a lot smaller, but Lambeau actually 81,441 capacity. Soldier Field's only 61,500. Yep. So that place can get pretty rocking. And that's like almost as big as the Big House. And
oh yeah.
So for me, I'll tell you this: 2017 Thanksgiving, Bears Packers, was it Thanksgiving night? Wasn't it? Was it a Thursday night? Thursday night Thanksgiving. I decided to stay home because again, when the Bears are not great, I'd rather watch in quiet solitude and take my lumps. And I think they had a trailer for like the new The Force Awakens or something like that, I believe. Not 2017, not 2015. 15.
That was 15.
Yeah, 15.
Yeah.
Because it was they did the trailer for The Force Awakens during the halftime show. I remember that. That was basically the whole reason I thought I'd even tuned in after the half. But it was Brett Favre's retirement night, the jersey retirement celebration. So I decided to stay home. Bought a nice bottle of not really a nice bottle, but I bought a bottle of Bullet. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit here. I had finished dinner with my family, and I went back home. And so I was going to pop the game on, just drink a little whiskey, and just kind of like wallow in pain. And then Jay Cutler thrashed the Packers, embarrassed them. The Bears just whooped their ass, and took Brett Favre's jersey retirement night and made it into a debacle for the Packers. No kidding. Actually, I got about a third away through that bottle, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, right? And my buddy John calls me. He goes, "Hey, I'm picking you up. We're going to go to Stoney's, which is a country western bar. here in Vegas. He's like, let's go. He's like, come on. I'm like, fine. So I mustered up. I took my pajama pants off and threw on some jeans and a t-shirt, and then went down to Stoney's, and we had a blast. Actually, a lot of Bears fans were out that night, and it was kind of funny. It's weird here in Vegas. Stoney's is it's South Strip at the Town Square shopping area or whatever, and Bears fans were out in great numbers. It was so weird. So many people were just cheering, and so my buddy John, who drove me, thank God. I think I feel like I did like 80 shots with like Bears fans that were like Bears, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, this new shot. I'm like, oh God. But that was kind of a funny moment because the next day I had nothing else to do, and all I kept doing is I kept waiting for that NFL replay to show the game. So that was a great one because that was me a Star Wars trailer, and then it gave us, of course, Brett Favre night thrashing. So that was good, and I did run into a childhood friend that was my girlfriend in middle school for like 2 seconds. That was at the bar, and she was single, but she tried to get me to go away with her. I guess I'll just say that. And I was just starting to date someone at the time, and I was a good boy. I said, no, thank you. And that was, I went and ran, and I'm like, hey, I got to pretend like I'm line dancing. It's like, okay. But anyway, random story. So as we do that, it's going to segue now out into some baseball stuff. So let's first thing, before we even get into the White Sox and the Cubs, you had sent this to me too, that it was announced that Disney's going to be paying out to Major League Baseball.
The last payment.
Last payment, which comes out to an equivalently about $30 million per team around the league.
It's $900 million left that Disney is buying out MLB from MLB Advanced Media. MLBAM is what it's called.
Gotcha.
So it's $900 million was left for the payout. And the thing to remember, owners have been getting money for this for a few years now. This isn't some out of the blue random payment. This is the final payment they get. So if the owners tell you they're poor, they just found, as I think I said it to you, they found some change in their couch.
Yep. Yeah, that's a lot of change. It's a lot of double cheeseburgers. If you guys remember the McDonald's commercial back in like the late 90s with the Sammy Sosa, and it was John Campanera was doing, hey, you get the double stacks from McDonald's with the 99 under your couch cushions. And that guy's a great comedian. I love him when he does his Harry Carey. But that's a lot of money. And these owners are crying poor. That's more money in the Ricketts pockets. That's more money in Jerry's pocket. So are they still poor? Are they? I mean, you got 30 million. Are you still poor? Like, I don't know how that works.
Now I'm going to use simple logic here. If they were really poor and they were losing money with what they see franchises going for, don't you think more of them would sell?
It's a smart investment. Get your money back. Lots of money.
Right. You get your money back and then some. And the other question I asked someone about that MLB, the Advanced Media deal, I said, does this pave the way for Disney to pick up baseball?
Well, I mean, with ESPN, they do, but
but through the Disney Plus app, or do something like Apple TV did this past season, something like that. The person I was talking to about it didn't know. Said it's not beyond the realm of possibility was the answer I got, but did not have a definite answer. But it smells to me like this might be the beginning of a media relationship between baseball and Disney, because let's face it, baseball knows that the regional sports network model is failing miserably. And they're going to need to, I see them going to a model similar to like, in the end, similar to like football, where it's all national. You don't have local broadcasters anymore. You have a pool of national guys who work series.
Mm-hmm.
You might have Benetti Stone doing the Sox series on Monday through Wednesday, and then going to Milwaukee to do Friday through Sunday. Something like that. So, similar to a model with the umpires.
Mm-hmm. I mean, our guy Swow will tell you right now. I mean, there's a competition right now. I mean, Apple is moving in on some of this. Yes. They're moving in on a lot of turf football.
Yes, they are.
Obviously, with the baseball, they did the Friday night broadcast this year, which were terribly terribly broadcast, but fantastic when it came to the graphics and the CG. Those were fantastic. They need a better broadcast team. That's probably the biggest complaint that everybody had.
The video portion, I think, the picture, the graphics, I think was great. As much as it pains me, because I am friends with Steven Nelson, great guy, I think that the broadcast portion they just need time together, I think, to gel.
Yep. I mean, I guess so. That would work too. I mean, as long as it's not A-Rod, right?
Right. A-Rod and Michael K. Oh, my God.
But you can see that Disney's out here going, all right, Apple's pushing in on our turf. And Apple is pushing. They're pushing. And more power to Apple, too. I know that, if Apple can use those type of graphics and those kind of analytic stats that they threw out during the baseball stuff and apply that to football, I think it would be fantastic relationship, because that's like a lot of that next gen stuff. I mean, I appreciate the broadcasts that they do during like the college championships, where they have like all the alternate channel where it's like more of the analytics part of it.
Yes.
Those are great. Those are really entertaining. And it to corner the market on a niche like that would be absolutely fun to enjoy. And look at that. Apple just signed a big Baloney told us that Apple just signed a big streaming deal with the MLS too. So we do forgive you for the soccer talk. I mean, Team USA the men's national team did beat Iran today, and they're now in the knockout round of 16 or whatever. Cool for them. I really don't follow
game
soccer,
on Saturday.
Not going to be one of those guys
at Jack's place.
Right. I don't want to be one of those guys that pretends like they like know anything about it and that I'm a big fan. Look, I'm cool. I'm rooting for the US, but I'm not going to sit here and I'm there for the festivities and camaraderie with people that do love it. So we watched the game on Saturday, Friday, and with a bunch of people in San Diego, and that was fun. It was really enjoyable to see how excited a lot of people are getting. And the guy next to me was actually British too, from England, so he was not happy, but it was fun that's the fun part about it to me. I remember in the World Cup way back in it was like in the mid 2000s, early 2000s, when I worked at the newspaper, and the games were actually like at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. And a bunch of us at the newspaper met at the English pub here near UNLV, and we watched it at like 3 a.m. It was just so weird getting up at 2 a.m. to go watch a game at 3. I was home at like 6 a.m. And, it was like the whole next day was totally ruined, because obviously we were drinking pints and having fun, and we can get home at 6 and 7 in the morning. Like, wait. But it's been fun. So anyway, that's totally side. You got me going on the side on that. But, this is going to be kind of an interesting thing. But I was looking at Oakland, for example. That $30 million they got is half their active payroll for 2022.
Yep.
I mean,
and don't forget, they got that $30 million. Plus, what do they get from the Fox ESPN contracts? Isn't it like 50?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that?
And if the Athletics want to come to Vegas, they better open up the pocketbooks, because Vegas wants you to spend. It's a money town here, which is actually kind of interesting. We can touch it. Maybe we'll touch on it later. But the UNLV did fire its head coach, and there's been rumors. A little birdie told me this afternoon after I kind of inquired. Little birdie told me that UNLV is one of the colleges that offered Deion Sanders a head coaching job. Now, if you know who the biggest
Colorado too,
University of Colorado Boulder was the one that he confirmed. Literally, he confirmed, and he said there are other ones out there. And then I messaged my buddy who was like the most plugged in guy here in Vegas. I feel like he knows everything. He's like Swami, and he's like, "Yep, UNLV was one of the offers." I'm like, I mean, that's a pretty good source. He usually knows things like more than Jon Snow. And he seems to think that, I mean, from what he knows from his sources, that Deion was offered a UNLV head coaching job. And we have the Fertittas here, like the big booster for UNLV. If you're not familiar with Vegas, they own like Red Rock stations. They were a couple years ago co-owners of UFC. They're the ones that basically financed UFC. They all met. Dana White was friends with Lorenzo Fertitta at Gorman here, the Catholic school. So that's how they started UFC in the first place, or whatever. And they got $4 billion in 2017. So they got a lot of money here. I mean, these boosters can pay you. I mean, we got a lot of money in Vegas. If they really wanted to do it, Deion could probably get whatever number he throws out there if they wanted to. I'm going to refrain from judging that. That's just kind of a pipe dream to me. But it was weird seeing them fire a coach that hadn't even been hired for 3 years. I mean, it takes 4 years to even develop a program. Let alone a program that's arguably the worst in history of college football at the Division I level. 2 bowl games, in history. 2.
That sounds like White Sox playoff appearances.
Awful, right? So anyway, totally random.
Well, the only question I have about the Dion to UNLV, will he get the Jerry Tarkanian type of backing?
Absolutely. He's probably going to be the first hire since Jerry Tarkanian that's that kind of guy. And now they can actually legally pay him. So, hey, you're not paying him, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
So, speaking of getting paid, Jose Abreu, White Sox MVP, hero to many, especially Ken W.O., who is up in the middle of the night, not even able to sleep. Like his Facebook even is like just sad. I feel sorry for him.
Right.
I feel his pain. Kind of like what the Cubs went through a couple years ago with KB and and Rizzo and those guys. But Pito takes the contract.
I just got an update. I just got a tweet, a message sent to me by our buddy Yumper, who forwarded a little news clipping. The Astros are in discussion with free agent Wilson Contreras and plan to meet with him at the winter meetings.
They're taking our soul from Chicago. Yeah, and Abreu, what was his contract? It was what, 3? Well, they haven't given the real
60.
number. There's basically 3 for 60, right? Assume 20 a year, which is I had him
well,
50. Shit.
And I did a little digging, and I know why it's 60. There was another offer on the table to him besides the White Sox.
Which I heard the White Sox offer based on his interview was like not even close.
There was another offer besides that.
Cubs. Well, the Cubs. There was Cubs. Cubs were reported. Cubs.
There was another 3-year. There was another 3-year offer on the table.
Aldo told me. Crap. Marlins.
Cleveland.
I know Marlins was one of them. Crap.
Cleveland.
Oh yeah, Cleveland. That's right. Cleveland was another one. That's right. They kicked the tires as well.
They had Cleveland had a 3-year offer on the table, from what I've been told. And needless to say, it sounds like everything else was he only had 2 3-year offers, from what it sounds like. And the Astros one had more money and a higher probability of actually winning. And that's what it boiled down to.
Yeah, Guardians made a 3-year. Oh, so by the way, it's 3 years, $58.5 million.
Okay.
Is the actual number for the deal from Jose Abreu. So roughly coming in
19.5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had him signing with the Cubs for $250. Man, I'm an overspender big time. That's how you get free agents, though. You overspend. Who gives a shit? It's not my money.
Well, when your team sucks, you got to overspend. It's a suck tax.
Absolutely. And I love seeing some of the memes are great. Jerry Reinsdorf, I have $3. The Patrick SpongeBob thing.
Yeah.
So Ken Rosenthal also says, save me the click. But it says, it's the Astros. That's the thing that's from Rosenthal, the Astros thing. I was like, wait, well, who's saying that Padres made a 3-year offer to Abreu? I don't see that anywhere. But
I know the Padres were supposedly he was their number one priority, but I've never heard of any offer being made by the Padres.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of that either. But how about this too? Houston doesn't even have a GM right now.
I know. That's the owner doing it.
They're making moves like just ballers right now too. It's painful for me as a Cub fan to say this, but the Cubs and the Houston Astros were pretty much on the same plane in the early 2010s. And Houston did it right. Dodgers, who were always kind of around, did it obviously always do it right. Cubs they screwed it up, man. And they didn't spend. And these guys are willing to do whatever it takes to win. And they're going to take Abreu from the Cubs and the Sox because the Cubs wanted him. I wanted him bad. Obviously, White Sox fans really wanted him bad too. And now they're going to take Wilson Contreras as well, probably. That team just keeps getting better and better and better. That's what championship franchises do. They don't worry about luxury taxes. They worry about winning.
Yes. That's, to me, what irritated me about the Abreu thing was not the fact that Abreu left. You saw the writing on the wall. You knew it was coming. And frankly, in a lot of respects, I don't blame him. What bothers me is that here you have Houston, the World Series champions, not sitting on their laurels because they know we have the target on us now. We need to improve. First base was a problem for him last year. Gurriel was not good. So what do? They went after Rizzo first, but Rizzo decided to stay in New York, which I get because that ballpark is perfectly made for Anthony Rizzo. That ballpark is perfectly made for Rizzo. So they pivot and go after the next best option, which was Jose Abreu, and they get their man. This shows the difference between a team that wants to win versus a team that wants to compete and hopes for luck. It's the White Sox hope model all over again. If you don't know what the White Sox hope model is, it's simple. They hope for luck, they hope for health, they hope that players have career years, and they hope that the other teams come back to them. That's their hope model. They will never set the market. They will never be the lead dog. They want to. It's like Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn always talking about being in stealth mode. That's what they want to be in. They want to be in stealth mode because they're afraid to, and they don't know how to do what it takes to win. It's a loser lament mentality over there. I don't want to hear Rick Hahn say, we had a seat at the table. You know what? Fuck your table. Get up from the fucking table and do something. Enough of this bullshit. And I'm going to say this. At his season-ending presser, Rick Hahn said, we need to regain the trust of the fans. That's what he said. He actually said that, which is a sign that, ticket sales must be down if they're really worried about regaining the trust of the fans. Well, here's how you regain the trust of the fans. You commit to do what you fucking told us you were going to do. And that is, hey, Rick Hahn, remember you bragging about talk to me after the parades? I sure as fuck don't see any parades coming. Maybe your seat at the table parade. Maybe we should have a parade for that. Hey, we had a seat at the table. Yeah, you know what? I did too. I could say I had a seat at the table. That doesn't mean I did anything with it. That's a fucking cop-out. So I don't want to hear the seat. Actions speak louder than words. Quit fucking talking and start fucking doing.
And that's jumping into that too. The next domino that the domino that actually fell before the Abreu news.
The Clevenger,
was the signing of Mike Clevenger. I think it looks like it's a 1 year, $12 million deal,
which they have not officially confirmed yet. By the way,
right, haven't officially confirmed it. But here's a guy. Here's my Chris Collinsworth. Here's a guy who I didn't slide in, so I can't do that. But a guy that actually has shown that he can be a very good arm. I look at him as a 5 with a higher upside, at least 5 as a floor, a good 5 as a floor, especially if he comes back healthy. If he comes back, I mean, a lot of guys come back from TJ. A lot of guys come back from TJ a second time, and usually you come back from TJ stronger. Usually, until if physically it might not last a couple years, but at least with this year inside this window that still kind of exists, I guess. I think that it's I'm curious about your opinion, but to me, I think that this is a very 1 year, $12 million. You're not locked into something too long. It's a guy that can come out, and he's shown to be a very valuable guy. He's he can be very valuable, and I think you add with Cease, Lynn, Gio, and Kopech. That's a pretty good rotation right there. And then you throw in who else?
You got Davis Martin there. You got Lambert. So you got these guys.
Yeah, you get some options there. So I mean, what are your thoughts on the Clevenger signing? We have to touch on it too long, but to me, I think it could be a sneaky good move if he gets back to form. Under Cats.
I agree with you. It could be a sneaky good move, but what I want to know is, what are their intentions for him? Are there intentions for him to be a number 5, or are there other moves coming where he may move up the ladder?
I just say that's his floor. That's his floor is the 5 to me. Like, he will at worst be a 5, a good 5.
But I think you're also going to have, because you also have to factor in with Kopech, you're not going to get 30 starts out of him. So you're going to need depth to begin with. And you're guaranteed that it seems like Lynn and Giolito will have one IL stint every year. They'll step off the mound wrong or something, and there's 10 days right there.
Step on a Lego.
Right, exactly. Something stupid like that. But unfortunately, what the Clevenger signing is another example of the White Sox PTP named player model. PTP being past their prime name player model. Let's get this guy. He's got a name, and we wanted him in 2020. We wanted him in 2019. Kenny Williams always gets his man. That's a running joke. Rick Hahn always gets his man. That's a running joke. That's why they traded for Ken Griffey Jr. in 2008. 8 years after his prime? That's why they went and picked up Manny Ramirez in 2010. 5 years after his prime? That's why they signed Adam Dunn a few years after his prime. It's the same thing over and over again. Now Clevenger may work out. That would be great. And I'm not discounting that he might work out. He's got a 1-year contract. So, he's gotta earn his keep if he wants to get another contract that might be much bigger.
Absolutely.
So, that's a good thing to have. But unfortunately for me, the White Sox have entered the Bill Wirtz phase of their existence. That is where you're just writing it out. Just, just put a product out there. Who gives a shit if we win or lose? And I can't figure out who Bob Pulford is in the Bill Wirtz model for the White Sox. I can't figure out if it's Rick Hahn, if it's Kenny Williams, or if it's Darryl Boston. Shit, it might be all three of them. Now, how the fuck does Darryl Boston still have a job with this team?
It's your snitch.
He's failed under 3 previous managers, and he still has a job. Well, I know why he has a job. He's Kenny Williams' snitch, and Kenny Williams wants to snitch in the clubhouse to find out what's going on.
Yes, it's a viable theory there, too. And I got a question for you real quick about Clevenger. Fangraphs projecting 2023. He's projected in his age 32 season. Would you take this from a number 5? 9-10, 151 innings pitched, what is it? Roughly a 4.55 ERA and a 1.3 WAR. Is that pretty good, would you say, for a number 5?
For a number 5, yes.
In his prime, he was a 4.5.
I would take that from a number 5. Yes.
Yeah. So that's really what I see as a as that kind of like low floor or high floor for a 5.
Right.
But now you started bringing it up. So yes, the White Sox today announced they have selected their coaching staff under. I always say his name wrong. Pedro, is it Griffol?
Griffol, I believe.
Okay. Yes. Put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. But he also they announced Charlie Montoyo. So Miguel Cairo, bye is the bench coach. Ethan Katz sticks around. Bullpen coach Hassler. Yep. You got hitting coach Jose Castro, assistant hitting coach Chris Johnson. There's your aforementioned Darryl Boston. Eddie Rodriguez is the third base coach. So goodbye. Wave him around.
Waving Joe McEwing.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound as good as waving Wendell Kim, though.
No, that's true. That's true. But Eddie Rodriguez will be manning the third base box, ducking from liners. And then you got Major League Field Coordinator Mike Tozar, and then Senior Director of Sports Performance Jeff Head. So,
and they also hired a new trainer too.
You can always use more head. So
yes, they also hired a trainer from Arizona, and I can't remember the guy's name.
Nice, and that's good. I mean, the White Sox did get head this offseason, so there we go with the joke. We'll leave it there.
We want more head.
Hey. So
the great Bears chant from the late 80s.
So let's see. Montoyo, Castro, Rodriguez, Tozar, and Head are new. Johnson was at AAA Charlotte, right? And then Boston, Katz, and
I believe so.
Are taking back the role that they had last year. So some continuity. Obviously, people seem to be impressed with Katz. I think that's a big thing. And why not? I mean, a pitching coach is a weird thing. If a pitching coach wants to stay and they're good at their job, you don't send them just because you don't know them, but you want to make sure you have your dudes. If you have your own dudes, you do it. But
yes, and what bothers me, and I'm not saying this as a slam against Katz, but what bothers me, fans are falling into this trap again. Oh, get this scrap heap pitcher and Coop will fix him up, and you're starting to hear the get this scrap heap pitcher because Katz will fix him up.
Yeah, you gotta have faith in that a little bit, but I find it more interesting that Montoyo, he used to be the manager of the Blue Jays. He actually had a 236 and 236 record as a manager. So you have a manager with experience in the dugout with
who's a bit of a hard ass too.
Yeah, as your bench coach, and I think you do have that helps, man. Miguel Cairo. Yeah. I mean, I think you had so much experience from Tony La Russa that you didn't have any real managerial experience with Cairo. Now you have kind of the reverse, where you have a bench coach that at any moment could step in and is at least an average manager. And he was fired when he was a 46 and 42 record in 2022. So he's not. I mean, obviously the Blue Jays were a good team, and they obviously there was a lot of studs on that team. But
Right.
you know, that's a good thing to have, and it sounds like he did a good job of developing some really young talent. You know, with Vlad and
Yes.
Bichette, and
Biggio, not so much, but
so he's gotten to have. I mean, he's coached 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 All-Stars. So that's pretty good in his case. But that'll be good for the depth. So for you, and I think they hired an analytics guy too. Did they not? I feel like Zoe was having a celebration. He did like a handshake analytics White Sox thing, and I feel like they hired an analytics guy.
well,
but
wasn't that Shelley Duncan?
Is that Duncan? Is that who that is?
But he's been there for a few years.
No, it was somebody got hired from outside. That's a real analytic. They got their 5th analytics employee.
That's impressive. Are they on a contract basis or are they full-time employee?
I'm just all I know is that Joe was somewhat stoked about it, and he did that whole the emoji thing where it's like White Sox handshake analytics thing. So I'm assuming that means that they brought in somebody with that. I don't know. Maybe you guys will remember it. I don't know. But with that said, too, you got a good coaching staff. I mean, it seems like it's a pretty well balanced coaching staff. Some a little bit mostly from outside the organization. So that's a solid, right? You got a manager and 1, 2, 3, 4 influential coaches in the staff that are nothing to do with the White Sox. You got one guy from AAA, and then you got Boston Cats. You know, Boston, your spy. I'm going to just keep calling him the spy now at this point.
The snitch.
Cats and
just call him a snitch.
Yeah, and so.
And can I go off on a tangent for a second? I'm going to be a real dick when I say this.
Uh-oh.
Look at the social justice warrior reaction when Tony La Russa was hired. Look at the reaction he got. How could you hire this guy, drunk driver, blah, blah, blah. All you social justice warriors, go look at Daryl Boston's record. If you want to be a social justice warrior, go look at his fucking record. Don't be selective bullshit with that. You either do it for all or you do it for none.
I'll say this too. I saw a lot of it's okay to be disappointed in a signing, but it's so weird how personal people get. In this case, the Clevenger signing too. I saw a lot of people,
about the 2020 thing.
Yeah, he screwed up with the COVID, and like his teammates like him. I talked to a couple guys now that literally are like he's actually liked in the clubhouse. He's a party dude. He's funny. He's a stoner.
Yeah.
And
he's a deadhead. So Zoe and I like him.
Yeah, and he apologized, and he didn't make an excuse for it either. He apologized. It wasn't one of those like half-ass apologies that we get from a lot of people. It was an apology, and people move on. And then someone brings up, "Oh, he cheated on his girlfriend or his wife or whatever." I'm like, okay, hold up, because if you're going to go after him for cheating on his girlfriend / wife or whatever it was, maybe you should also then go after number 1 out there in the 6 hole. Because why is he okay to do that to his wife? And Clevenger's a bad guy for doing it to his. You don't know the situation. And let's be honest, you also don't know what most of these players do on the road. Okay.
That's right.
I would gauge, I don't know. Let me give it an actual like real guess. I would gauge that 40% of Major League Baseball players live in an open relationship with their wives. And on the road, they enjoy themselves as they see fit. And guess what? Yeah, at home, their wives enjoy their time as well. I know this at least from my discussions with people that it's the road is the road, home is the home. Make sure make sure the money keeps flowing in. We'll be a great couple. Some couples, to each their own. If they want to be in an open relationship, let them be in an open. Who cares? And they're not going to tell you publicly, I'm in an open relationship. That's none of your business, actually. None.
Right.
Okay. If you were in a convent, it'd be none of your business. Okay. So knock it off.
Yep.
That's not a reason to attack somebody. People make mistakes. Okay. People screw up. People ask for forgiveness. And that's it. You move on. You don't keep bringing stuff up. And again, it's only when you don't like the person. You're okay turning a blind eye to somebody if you like them. But if you don't like them, it's World War III. And that I wish we would kind of shy away from. Again, you're not going to be their best friend. They're not here to be your pal. They're here to win ball games. And in the end, if you're not winning ball games, it'll take care of itself. But if they are, you'll probably love them anyway. At that point, you'll start turning the blind eye to it. But it's just so weird how as soon as you're signed with a team, people are digging through your trash. Like they want to, if they don't like you, if they're not happy with the signing, they're the first people digging into your dumpster to try and find some weird receipt that they can go ahead and say, this is a stupid signing. I refuse to support this, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
We saw it with La Russa. We saw it with, we've seen it with a lot of, you see it with the Cubs. I didn't approve of what Marcus Stroman said with the Kyrie Irving stuff. I didn't agree with it, but he's here to pitch.
Yeah.
So, people, all things, all kinds, all walks of life. As long as you're not out there stabbing people and kicking dogs or something, we're go pitch. And you know what? The rest takes winning. Nobody cares who you are.
Winning takes care of a lot.
Yeah, look at the Astros fans. They don't care if they're cheating. They won, right?
Yep.
But
look at one of the biggest jerks in baseball for years. He was beloved on the South Side. Why? Because they won a World Series with him.
Yeah.
And he was, and I remember this, he was hated before he arrived. And I remember the Twitter wasn't around back then, but I remember, why are they picking up this guy? He's an asshole. I don't want him on our team. Well, guess what? Paul Konerko said it the best at his retirement ceremony. You can't expect to win if you have 25 milk drinkers in your clubhouse.
It's true.
And he's fucking right. And that's part of my issue with the White Sox. One of the things, if you pay close attention to them when they have a press conference generally to announce a player or something like that, one of the things they will say a lot of times is, this is the guy your daughter can bring home to you.
Yep.
I don't give a fuck about that. Win. You're there to win. I don't need to be your friend.
You ain't there to arrange a marriage for your daughter, okay?
Right.
It ain't happening.
You're there to fucking win. Go fucking win.
I'll say this about
I don't give a
shit.
shit. I'm not going to go out and have drinks with you afterwards.
Exactly. I mean, maybe they will. I mean, they might.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to the Cubby Bear, at least maybe they should start showing up at a.
Well, I know some used to show up at Jimbo's.
See, there you go. I remember I was in Houston one time, and I went to see the Astros play the A's, and I think like 8 or 9 guys from the A's came to we were at this really cool speakeasy, and like they all rolled in. You knew they were ball players. Like immediately they walk in. I mean, you got the broad shoulders. They were either ball players or hockey players, right? And they sit down, and it was, I forgot the dude's name now. He was actually kind of a crazy guy, and he was having fun, and that's what I guess it brings up to the point is the people that I talk to, and again, the only person, that I know of that has firsthand knowledge says that he's cool, man. He's fine.
Yeah.
But another guy that has secondhand knowledge of teammates that he plays with now that played with him, especially in San Diego, by the way. San Diego is a really good tell because he was hurt in San Diego. You can be a real total dick in San Diego if you're hurt because you're frustrated. Yeah. More inclined to be a jerk then. Never. Treated everybody with respect, was nice. And so he made good friends. And the thing that I heard about him is he's a competitor. And he does have a little bit of a temper streak because he wants to win. Now, call me crazy. I want those guys. I want them to control their behavior. Sure, I don't want them, blowing up the clubhouse, every time they have a bad game. But don't you want guys that want to go out there and do take it seriously? They take it personal. And, you want guys out there that take losing personal. And I think a lot of times in this generation, especially of ball players, these guys play so many games as in their younger years that losing loses its pain. Like if you're only playing 60 games a year, losing really hurts. But if you're playing 100, 120 a summer, like those guys do, like a lot of these club ball kids do now, and these guys did, because this is club ball era now. The club ball group is now in the show. They're now major leaguers. They didn't care about it. They were like, hey, buddy, you're on my other club team. What's up, bro? Like the rivalry stuff is really kind of dying a slow death, and you don't see it as much. But you like to see guys that hate to lose. Those guys you want in your clubhouse because they're going to go out there and they're going to find a way to help. And if they can't find a way, they're going to step aside. And because they hate losing so bad.
Well, I agree with you for the most part, but I know a couple examples where they didn't step aside. And you're like...
That's self-awareness, though.
Right. And, and can I side note here? I just have to say this. The mayor, my friend Doug, he can confirm that we were in a finer establishment in Windsor, Canada.
Hey.
During a weekend when we went to see the White Sox play the Detroit Tigers in Old Tiger Stadium. And let's just say there were some members of a certain Southside team who were in the finer establishment with us. He can confirm and there it is. He was there. He saw him too.
That's great.
I will not tell the whole story in this forum. Get me one-on-one. I'll tell you the whole story.
You hear the story when you're not being recorded or digitally.
That is correct.
Well, we covered the White Sox, and
Yes,
at least the White Sox have at least signed somebody. The Cubs right
Yes.
now, it's quiet. The only move they've made is a mediocre trade with the Rays. No major signing of note, no major league contracts of note. Wilson Contreras is gone. The Cubs' intelligent spending plan to me is dumb. It's not intelligent at all. And as a result, we have a yawner of a postseason offseason.
Yeah. Well, are they waiting for the winter meetings? Because there seems to be, and again, I'm going to take one of these sources and I'm just going to laugh about it. It's Jim Bowden, because Jim Bowden actually put in an article in The Athletic, he listed 5 teams that were in on Aaron Judge. And it would be the teams you would expect, the Yankees, the Giants, the Dodgers. And number 5 was the White Sox. And his comment was, it wouldn't surprise me to see Jerry Reinsdorf do something big. And I'm like, when has that ever fucking happened?
Are you seeing this, by the way? I'm sorry.
Yes.
My new camera.
Is the camera
It's
is it following you?
Oh, God.
Nice.
That's so awesome. Sorry. I'm a damn. And I'm a damn.
Yeah, well, just don't get up with no pants on or something, because the camera will follow you.
Probably shouldn't stand up. How is that 4K lens?
Looks good. Yeah.
The thing, too, though, is... Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and he said, don't put it past Jerry Reinsdorf to do something big. And I'm just like, okay, any credibility you may have had, may being the key word, is gone. Gone. And the other thing I heard of, and I sent you this the other day, Steve Phillips had referred to the Cubs this offseason as tire kickers. They were going to kick the tires on some players, but that was about the extent of it. And to be honest with you, I look at the Cubs, and I know there's a lot of Correa talk, and I think Correa would be a great get for any team, not only for the player on the field, but the intelligence and the analytical capabilities he brings to the clubhouse too. I was not a Correa fan until I heard him do that breakdown during the playoffs. Yeah. I was like, good God, this is someone you need in the clubhouse with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't see him going to the Cubs. Not unless the Cubs wildly overpay.
Okay.
Wildly overpay.
Because fair.
The Cubs aren't ready to win yet. I think if they were ready to win, let's say they were in the 2014-2015 offseason, I could see Correa being a viable move there. I don't see it yet.
See, I disagree. I don't think the Cubs are that far at all, actually. I mean, the Cubs did win 74 games this year. So you win 74 games, you're a couple of big names and big players and arms away from being a 85 to 86 win team. And when you saw this year, ask the Phillies, just get to the dance and then figure it out from there. So for that, but this is my problem with, you say maybe they're waiting for the winter meetings. Down the street from my house, I have this awesome Cuban place. It's called Cubanidad. They have incredible empanadas, right? They're so good, yes. Right? Especially the beef and olive ones. Oh my God, forget it. But
damn it, now I'm hungry.
They don't have a lot of them. And so say, for example, you're like, I know that I love these empanadas. They have the best empanadas, but I also know that I'm just going to wait till 7:00 tonight to go get these empanadas. And if you wait till 7 to get those empanadas, there is a real risk that some other dude's going to roll in and buy the empanadas, and you're going to get there and they're going to be gone. And if the Cubs wait till the winter meetings thinking, well, we'll just deal with it then, someone's going to grab that Correa empanada and run with it. Someone's going to grab that Turner. Someone's going to grab that Bellinger. Someone's going to grab, already grabbed that Abreu. Someone's going to grab, that Bogarts, all that stuff. Yeah. Right. And so the thing that these guys want to see, Correa, you say you don't see him signing with the Cubs. I don't see him signing with the Cubs for one reason. He doesn't want to play for a team that's not ready to contend right now. And to get someone like Carlos Correa, the Cubs need to make additional moves before he even sits down to negotiate. And they've made none. And they're sitting here on their hands. So that tells me that either they're not serious about this, they're misreading the market again, like they did with Rizzo, like they did with KB, for the most part, like they did with Schwarber, obviously too. They're misreading it again, and they're willing to sit there and say, "Hey, it's all right. We'll just we'll."
Are they going to say they had a seat at the table?
Oh yeah, it's always seated at the table. We saw it today. The minute the guy that every Cub fan I feel like was begging for, Abreu, gets signed with the Astros, a little leak. The Cubs offered him 2 for $40. We tried. We just didn't feel like that was worth it. Jose Abreu's worth it. So to me, that bothers me a little bit. But this is the intent. So now what happens with this is Correa is a domino guy. I think Xander Bogaerts might be the least of the domino type guy, but none of those 3 guys want to go to a team that's still 3 years, 3 years away from competing. So it needs to be at the kids' table. Exactly. There needs to be some moves here. If they're going to fall asleep, Carlos Rodon's going to go to the Mets. They're going to fall asleep, and Senga is going to end up with probably like the Giants or something. They're gonna wait too long, and it drives me nuts when Cub fans go, "Look, the draw and appeal of playing at Wrigley and for playing for Cub fans is just way better than playing for the." Shut up! It's not true. Okay, you can't sell playing for the Cubs as a draw anymore. They won the World Series in 2016. The draw was to win the World Series with the Cubs and be on that group that we found out most Cub fans don't stay loyal to in the first place after they won it in 2016. They were kicking them out the door faster than you could spell their name. So it doesn't work that way. You can't rely on that notoriety, that nostalgia. Nobody cares, okay? They want money. They want to win, okay? I don't want a guy that signs with the Cubs that takes that money knowing that they're not going to win. That's a loser mentality. I don't want that, okay? There has to be more action. And so now Abreu's gone. There's Bellinger out there. I'm not a big fan of the Josh Bell, if Josh Bell is the choice. But guess who the Cubs get stuck with if they don't make a Josh Bell move? And Josh Bell's a lefty, so really I'd rather not get a lefty first baseman. The right-handed first baseman was perfect. Now Cub fans have transitioned. Well, we can have
Bellinger.
Patrick Wisdom play first. We can have Matt Mervis and Matt. So now we have Wervis as our first base combo. Like we had Wisdong or whatever, Wiz Schwindel, or whatever.
Schwindel isn't Schwindel in Korea or Japan?
It was Wisdom or whatever it was. The combo of Wisdom and now we're gonna get Wervis. I mean, good for Matt Mervis, great for the kid. I'm excited to see him play. It's so unfair to a kid in his first major league opportunity to expect him to be your MVP and one of the core guys in your lineup and to hit the way that he did at AAA. It's not going to happen. It's
you mean
unfair.
Like Oscar Colas?
Yeah, it's unfair, though. He's not the second coming.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have veteran guys there to help spell those ups and downs and carry them with them most of the time. It's so screwed up. Look, KB got Rookie of the Year his first year, but KB wasn't the Cubs MVP. I mean, Rizzo was, right? And so you have these. It sucks because Bellinger. I would be big on Bellinger, but that's a left-handed first baseman again. You don't need a left-handed first baseman. Now, I want Bellinger as a center fielder. I'm going to go with that because I would love to see because he can play a lot of places. He's a very good defensive outfielder. I also did see, though, and this is something that, again, a lot of lefty bats, Joey Gallo being tossed out there as a good Cubs choice. And I actually dig that. I think Joey Gallo against post-shift has a little bit more value. I don't think that BABIP's going to be as bad, and I think that he actually has an opportunity to be a very good outfielder, and he's got a cannon. Also a guy.
Boy, I got a lot of shit when I said the Sox should go get Gallo last year at the trade deadline to shore up their defense.
Oh yeah,
boy, did I get a ton of shit on that.
And he owes me an iPad, dick. So took it out of my hand in the dugout with a line drive while I was trying to show a sophomore how to keep score on the tab. But so that's where the Cubs are kind of at. Intelligent spending. So where do the Cubs go from now? I mean, they need a center fielder. They need a frontline arm. They need an ace, to be honest. And Carlos Rodon to me is that ace. I'm going to be very disappointed if the Cubs waste. Senga would be great, but it sounds like again at the beginning of the offseason, it was Senga, Rodon, Abreu, Bellinger. Correa is going to take the. He really is. What was it? What's his name? John Morosi. Cubs. I think the Cubs are going to get Correa. Everyone's kind of cooled on all these now because the Cubs have basically tire kickers and they're table sitters, and this isn't happening the way that obviously things can happen. I just losing out to Abreu really kind of hurt. Honestly, I would have matched that offer from the Astros. I don't give a shit. I'll take that third-year option with a huge boost for the third year and let them take that. But it is what it is. So now, how do the Cubs woo a contender, a good player? They need to be a contender. They got to make moves. That's the only way you're going to get a Turner or
there's one of two ways to do it. you need to give him like a 6 or 7 year deal with a shitload of money,
Mm-hmm.
or you need to fill in other pieces first, then go and say, "Hey, we're serious. Look, we have we put Bellinger at first base, or we put Bellinger in center field. We put Abreu at first base. We're bringing in Rodon. Come, Carlos."
Right? Like, set the table.
But there's
Don't
a
set the
great
table,
example.
Set it.
There's a great example of where that was exactly done. The 2009 New York Yankees, when they went and got Teixeira, they went and got CC Sabathia. I think there was someone else, and I can't think of who it was, but they got those guys. They said, "We have this aging core, but hey, CC, we went and got Mark Teixeira. We're going to get Mark Teixeira. We got CC to add to this core." So that's how they have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how both teams in Chicago have to do it. Unfortunately, they're at different points, and they won't do it because of the Cubs won't do it because they are, quote unquote, not in their window yet. And I say yet. The White Sox are in their window, which I think is already slammed shut, but that's just my opinion. But they don't want to spend. They want to hope, not make their luck.
Yeah, and with the Cubs, you've got to, if you're building a house and selling a house, you've got to build the window before you sell the house. Yeah. So to get to a window, you gotta actually like install a window to have a window, right? And this is the dangerous part with the Cubs, this game they're playing. And for me, Carlos Correa, this is what I've been pretty vocal on. I don't want Nico Horner moving from shortstop. I want to front load a contract for Carlos Correa and pay him a convenience fee to have him, just like Manny Machado, move to third base, take that third base spot, and move Patrick Inconsistent Wisdom to a sub role on off days when they need to take a breather, and then let Nico stay at short. And then I know that Magical's out there. I don't, I'm not totally against Morel, giving him some more looks. I just, the Correa thing, you got to pay him. I see him playing third or playing the left side of the infield for maybe 2 years, and then moving over to first.
Three max.
Yeah, 3 max, and then first base. And there we go. We finally got a special person in our chat. 18
I see that. I'm very excited.
We've gone legit now. We have gone big time. If
that's our new sponsor, by the way, guys.
Mm-hmm. Sex bots. When the sex bots show up, boom. Find your love here with lips too. Congratulations on that. Wow, how'd they find us? Mom? No. So we
got to wrap up. I all of a sudden need to go visit a website.
Share screen. No. So actually, though, you make a good point. So the Cubs might make a move, but let's move on to something else that's fiction, like Jed Hoyer making moves, which is the most recent movie releases. Wakanda Forever came out. We talked a little bit about it last podcast, but you hadn't seen it, so I kind of tabled it.
Right.
A new entry into the MCU universe, and you finally got to see it. So what was your thoughts on the film? I mean, I know I gave you a little bit of stuff last time, so let me shut up and let you talk.
The bookend tributes to Chadwick Boseman were incredible. In the movie, I thought it dragged a little bit at times. It's like, you didn't need to be, what was it, like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that, 2.5 hours long. I think they could have easily shaved off 15, 20 minutes out of that movie easily. I thought it was good. I did, but I think there were points where they could have shaved off time. And seeing Elaine Bennis in there was just cracking me up.
I had that mute again. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
I'm doing that to let you talk, so I don't like my little creaky chair here right now. What do you think of Namor? Do you find him to be, actually better yet, what do you find him to be? They keep calling him a villain in a lot of these pieces that I read online. Do you find him to be a villain? Like, am I wrong for saying that I don't feel like he's a villain?
I can understand why people think he's a villain, but that would just be if they don't actually pay attention to what he's fucking saying. People say he's a villain because some of the actions he takes, but you have to understand why he takes some of the actions he takes. He's basically protecting his people, his kingdom,
Yeah.
whatever term you want to use.
Right.
You know,
We don't have a problem with.
so I wouldn't necessarily.
When T'Challa went out to go hunt the Winter Soldier and was causing damage, nobody had a problem with that because we already know that they're a good guy. They're good. They're on the good team. We know that Black Panther's a good character, but Namor is defending his people,
Right.
And against people that are ignoring their ass. They asked him to stay away, leave us alone.
Yes.
If you can't leave someone alone and you violate that, you are going to pay the consequence. He is not raised in a Judeo-Christian modern American society. He's raised under the ocean as a king. Like it's not, it's apples to oranges. There's no, right from wrong, but to defend your people, just like with your family, are you going to are you going to be nice or are you going to defend your family? Like you come from my family. I'm sure you're the same. The gloves are off. I'll go through everybody if I got to, and you would too. And that's what defending your family and your kingdom in his case is. And so I don't know. I know that in the comics he goes back and forth because it's more about his people than it is about anything else. And if you infringe on that, he'll turn on you like on a dime. So don't be a dick.
Yeah. So, I mean, they messed up the hair because I always dug Namor's haircut.
I dig the fly. I love the wings. But, the wings in his ankles were cool.
Yes. I thought, like I said, there's about 15 to 20 minutes that could have been shaved off. I mean, some of the underwater stuff, mainly when they have that whole conversation underwater, the whole build up to getting there, I'm like, yeah, you could have done without that. You could have had that conversation over there.
Right. Yeah.
And, it was little things like that. And I'm not saying that it's bad.
Let's be honest. I don't know how you feel. Shuri was the worst of all the characters that were main characters. Shuri's performance was awful, whereas Angela Bassett's was incredible. So, that they couldn't hide her anymore. She was great in little bunches in all the other films because she wasn't the front runner. Or not the front runner, the showrunner, and now she is the Black Panther, and so she's got a lot of screen time. And I didn't really care. I was like, "Who? Well, maybe there's gonna be a new Black Panther."
Yeah, and there's one thing I don't understand: the big finale fight. Okay, when she gets speared, how did she just like? Oh, I'm good.
Good question. Oh, there goes the camera's following me again. Hey, look, I just lean forward. Whoa, what's that camera?
Yeah,
cameras.
But I mean, honestly, she goes from being speared to like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah. It's kind of like John McClane. He loses 8 pints of blood. He's fine. It's just one night walking in glass and not getting any infection. Didn't get a single thing of gangrene. Didn't lose a single toe. Jeez, how does he not lose a toe at least? But speaking of another film that came out, and I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see it, but Steven Spielberg's back.
I have not seen The Fabelmans.
Oh yeah,
I know you were rather excited about it, so take it away.
Yeah, The Fabelmans came out on Wednesday. This is Steven Spielberg's autobiographical film about his childhood and how he fell in love with film. And I'm going to say this right now, and it isn't for everybody. It's my fiance didn't dig it at all. She thought it was slow and boring, but for me, I'm going to put this film in one of my top 10 films of all time list because it's an homage to love of film. If you're a cinephile and you're someone that just is like there's an absolute film nerd, how they describe, even from the beginning, the father describes the science of film, the 24 frames per second, that your eyes are seeing, the brain then registers the optical illusion, etc. He explains it so well to young Sammy, who's young Steven Spielberg. And, Spielberg, if you didn't know the whole story, this is all, generally true. There's some stuff that kind of he added into it because some of the revelations that he learned didn't happen till later in life. And I don't want to spoil that part of it, but if you know Steven Spielberg's life, you know what I'm referencing. And it permeated a lot of his early work too, in fact, especially with the absentee father character trope. And they, the big thing, with everything that goes on, you've got the mom who's an artist. She's a pianist. She's kind of a flighty. You got the dad who's a scientist who repairs things for, Even TVs. He repairs TVs for a living as well. He's a scientist. He's serious. He works 9 to 5. He's responsible. She's flighty. She buys a monkey for no reason. She's erratic and unpredictable. And you have two worlds. And you have this young kid, and of course they're the only Jewish family in Tucson, I believe it is. And he's trying to figure this out. And the kid, they go to see The Greatest Show on Earth, and that massive train wreck that happens, which was at the time when The Greatest Show on Earth came out, was a big deal because it was incredible special effects for the time. And he gets his first, steals dad's cameras, gets a train set. And, dad gets him a train set because he thinks the train is what freaked him out, and mom gets him a camera because that's what mom thinks he needs. And in the end, it turns out that that's what starts the love of film. And the film itself is a beautiful homage it's a love song to film. It's a love song to why someone does what they do. It's a love song to how film itself can rescue, even in the toughest circumstance. It could pull you out of a moment. It's your escape. And as a filmmaker, Spielberg has been, to me, he's the greatest film director of all time. To me, I'm a big stan on his for all of his films. And I had a student come up to me today. They weren't at school yesterday. They were absent on Monday, and they got back. They were back at school today, and the kid couldn't wait. It was for did you see The Fabelmans? I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, were you in the 6 o'clock show at AMC at Town Square? I'm like, creepy, but yeah. He goes, I saw you. I'm like, glad you didn't talk to me, but cool. And then he goes into this. He goes, yeah. And then I went and saw it 2 days later. I brought my mom with me next time. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, well, no, don't you understand? The whole part about supporting your child that wants to be a filmmaker is my life. It's what I want to do. And my mom didn't understand that. And this is a kid, by the way, that as a freshman was pretty much of a slug. He didn't do any work, like at all. And in the last 2 years, he's grown up so much, and he is a very good young little filmmaker. He's not really little. He's actually kind of tall, and he's a big dude, actually. But he's a great kid. His name's Kevin, so I even help him with that, too. It's even double credit for me. But his mom, he's like, I wanted my mom to see that because I wanted her to give me that same support because she didn't think that this is something I could do for my career. And she went and bought me a camera the next day, a brand new DSLR that I can now make films at home with a really good equipment and continue to chase my dreams. And that, to me, is what The Fabelmans is all about. To see a student of mine who isn't, he is a big film nut. He's a big Tarantino guy, to be honest. Using that film as a springboard to show his mother, can't you have faith in me? Can't you support me? This is my dream. And it doesn't have to be filmmaking, obviously. But to have that support system, to have a family member that just says, I believe in you, go run with it. Run with it till your shoes fall off. That again, captures the Fabelmans in the essence of it. And I really do recommend it as a film. It is slower. It is, Michelle Williams is incredible as Mitzi, his mom. Paul Dano as his father, absolutely excellent. Both those two are heavyweight actors and actresses that are obviously Oscar winners and Oscar nominees. Judd Hirsch in a small role very well may get himself a Best Supporting Actor nomination as well. Seth Rogen is very good in it. There's a lot that happens. And again, the whole aspect, especially in this day and age, which especially it feels like over the last couple months, especially has been in the headlines of a lot of anti-Semitism. Spielberg's childhood dealing with being the only Jewish kid in the neighborhood and what he dealt with in school and how he was bullied for being Jewish even way back then, how this stuff permeates and just goes, the adversity that you go through. And as he grows into the young man and as a young teenager, the character is really, really good. It's definitely worth seeing. And again, if you're a lover of film, this film is for you. I really dug the old, again, he was editing his film. He's using razors and glue. He had the old editing machine, which is like it's a linear editing machine. So it's basically you're cutting tape reels. It's not like digital like what we do now, which is called nonlinear editing. So a lot of that stuff, it just is really good. And I know I'm kind of like oozing and goobing about it, but to me, it was exactly the kind of film I go to the theater for. It's what I go to the cinema for, is a film like The Fabelmans. And I don't know if it's going to beat Everything Everywhere All at Once, but this was the most personal film since Schindler's List, which is a bad date movie. We've talked about that before. The most personal film
yes, we have.
from Steven Spielberg since Schindler's List. It is very personal. It is very much his childhood with a few things changed a little bit, obviously, and names changed. But the gist of it is there. And when someone opens up their soul, someone like Spielberg especially, you want to watch, you want to learn because he's teaching you something. And that was great. So I do recommend that. So
yeah,
I
haven't seen it yet. So,
can't wait to hear your opinion.
my take on it.
Mhm.
Well, I'm looking for, you know me, I'm looking forward to Thursday night when, our buddy, your buddy and mine, Svo, one half of Yumper and Svo, him and I are going to see Violent Night.
Oh,
Santa
yeah.
Claus beating the shit out of people. I'm there all day. So we're catching like an 8:00 show Thursday night to go see this movie. So I'm sure I'll have more to say about that after the fact. And I'm sure that Yumper and Svo will have stuff to say because I also thought I heard that Yump couldn't make it to that showing, but him and Brian are going to a different showing for that. So
I'm going to have to try and go
I'm
see it
sure
because
they
I
will
ain't
have
seen
feedback
shit.
on their next podcast.
Maybe I'm going to go Thursday night
Yeah.
then too.
I'm sure they'll have feedback.
You know what I'm sure of? I'm sure that Yumper's going to hate the Fablemans like he hated Nope, like he hated the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, two great films. So see how it works now, Yumper? Huh? On our podcast, I get to make fun of your film choices like you do to me on your podcast. Okay, all right. You can take your thinly veiled, no metaphor films all you want. No, just kidding. I'm joking. I think Yumper. I think you're going to love the Fablemans. Actually, I honestly, I think you will. I think it's hard. It just depends on can you handle a movie that's not bells and whistles and explosions. Do you like Michael Bay or not? But with that said, we've mentioned them. Make sure you guys check out the Tainted Glove Network shows. Yumper and Svo at the show. It's getting Drafty Pod. It's Drafty in here pod. They got tomorrow night. They're going live at 4 p.m. London time. So I don't know what time. I don't know. It's tomorrow. It's at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
And they're doing the NES games, right?
Yeah, 8-bit. Yeah, 8-bit video game draft. Yeah, so
they're having a draft on 8-bit video games. That ought to be interesting.
Now, if you're going to tune into the Pinwheels and Ivy pod, you can always go back and listen and watch their stream later and give everybody what they need because I don't know. Anyway, but
it's a tough choice tomorrow, to be honest, because while the 8-bit games, I'm really curious to hear who picks what. But I'm also curious to hear Father Zoe's freak out too.
He's got some things. He's got some things. So that's going to be worth it itself. Also, why don't you talk us real quick?
Love you, Zoe.
Absolutely. So make sure you guys give those guys a follow on social media as well. You can see a lot of their videos on our the Tainted Glove YouTube page that you're obviously hopefully watching on right now. If you're not, it's always fun to watch the stream as well. You get to see beautiful face of Pete, and then you get to see me looking like Bob from Ernest Goes to Jail. So the next thing too, why don't you tell us a little about what's coming up here in January? January 8th? I think the date is
January 7th.
1/7
going into 1/8,
which makes it what
108 day. So unfortunately, if you just are hearing about this now, this is sold out, but there will be a 108 day party in lieu of Sox Fest at Reggie's on like 19th and State, whatever the exact address is. But the guys have put together the 108 guys in conjunction with Sox Machine guys. And I have been told that, obviously Josh will be there, but also Jim Margulis will be there too from Sox Machine. Jim is coming into town for it.
Oh, very cool.
I also heard there might be another guest coming into town, but that's being kept under wraps, so we won't say anything about that.
Nice. Inside info. Very nice.
Yes. So they have a couple panels. I know the first panel is the one that Josh does, and it'll be Josh, Herb Lawrence, and Lawrence Holmes. And yesterday on The Score, Lawrence Holmes actually invited Dan Bernstein to go to the 108 party. Wow. And Bernstein seemed to be open to it. Now, whether or not he shows up, that's a different story. I can tell you a few years ago, I want to say it was 2020, right before the pandemic, Jason Goff did show up there after he did his Bulls post-game responsibilities. So I know White Sox Dave is going to be there on a panel with the 108 guys, so there's going to be a lot of drunken profanity that comes from there, and there'll be some other surprises too.
Very cool. And if you're not familiar with that, those of you that aren't, which would be really shocking to us, kind of, is that the 108 is a large group of people, especially that met through White Sox Twitter and through social media. Which brings a little bit of a segue to a real quick thing I just wanted to touch on tonight before we dip out of here as well and head out for the week and give Aloha's closing thoughts. But those of you that kind of follow me might know what I'm kind of addressing or referring to. But we're getting to the holiday season, guys, and things are a little bit it's a lot more difficult during the holiday season. This time period, especially from Thanksgiving all the way through to beyond New Year's Eve. Sometimes things happen. And I guess what I'm going to address is on Wednesday night, I kind of got a little bit, I kind of went into I was in a rough emotional spot, and I kind of got into a little bit of a Twitter, whatever you want to call it, with some people. And I just want to say this, I like to think of myself as a good person who tries, who's completely flawed and is never above anybody else. Somebody that treats people the way that they should be treated, that I expect to be treated. And I kind of faltered on Wednesday night, and I really feel kind of guilty for it. And I don't feel guilty for some certain things in my life, but I can tell you this, that it's just, I try my best to be a good person. And I know that, and this is kind of a little, here comes the Reverend here. But I do understand my fallibility. I understand how flawed I am as a person. And I think that especially at this time of year, there are a lot of people in this world that have low self-esteem, that are struggling right now with confidence, with who they are, whether it's, their looks, their outward appearance, their career, right now I'm going through a time period where I'm doughy. I feel a little bit overweight. I got this stupid sty on my eye. It's humiliating every day, sometimes going out where I got this lump on my eye, and, it's embarrassing. And it's just certain things that you kind of feel down a little bit. And the worst thing you could possibly do is lash out. And unfortunately on Wednesday night, I lashed out, and I treated some people, inappropriately, not inappropriately, but incorrectly. I'm not going to defend other people as well, but I will say that I myself pride myself on doing my best to be my best self. And I know that I am flawed. I know that I screw up, but I know that I am not better than anybody else. No one person is better than anybody else. Except for Packers fans. I guess I owe you guys, those of you that follow me that saw it, I owe you guys an apology for that little tirade. And the people that I spoke to, whether or not what I feel about you as a person, I apologize to you guys as well. I had no business, coming at you that way that I did. And so I do apologize to that. And, but I want you guys to understand that, I believe in grace, and I believe in the idea of forgiveness. And I believe in the idea of, when you're sorry, and you apologize. And if you mean it, you have to move on. And for me, I've not, I'm not always my best self. And I have moments, and I struggle with it. And this has been a particularly rough couple of, things with going on in my life. My old dog's getting old, and, we were taking him on his last trip. And again, a lot of emotional, just raw emotion coming out right after the Fablemans too, by the way. And so be nice to each other, though. You don't know what somebody else is going through. And, if you're someone that loves to go online and bully people, just knock it off. Like, grow up. It's not okay. Like, harassing people for months, mocking people for their looks, mocking people for their relationships, mocking people for who they are. If that's your stick, man, the best thing you guys can do on social media is hit that block button. And I think I learned the lesson as well. I tried to kind of just weather the storm. And instead of listening to you guys, which you guys give me great advice, I should have blocked the people that have been harassing me for months. And I didn't. And then I finally hit that head, and I apologize, to you guys, because you guys had to read that shit. And that's not okay. And, I want to practice what I preach. I don't want to be a hypocrite. And I do understand that it was inappropriate. I do understand that no matter how that circle acts, it ain't me. And how you respond to people is a lot about your character. And I talk about character never going out of style. I know I screw up. I know I make stupid mistakes. I make them all the time. I'm absolutely the most imperfect person I know. But what I do know is that I'm trying, and I try. And I try to treat people with the respect that I feel that they deserve, and that how I want to be treated. And when you do this, I that golden rule, it's hard to not defend people too. And sometimes you just got to hit that block button. and move on. And I think if that's probably the biggest lesson that I learned outside of, maybe when I'm feeling raw emotions, to maybe step away from the Twitter machine. Not one of those guys that are like, I'm leaving Twitter every like 2 weeks, but just like that night, maybe just putting the phone away and working through the emotions or whatever that I'm going through. So, long story short, or short story long, those of you that do follow me, and those of you that, you're blocked, but those of you that I came after, that we feuded or whatever you want to call it, I apologize to you as well. I that's not me. And, I want to be my best self. And I think being self-aware is probably the most important trait a human can have, to understand when you screw up, to apologize when you screw up, instead of, spinning a bad wheel and creating chaos and just making things worse. So I hope that you guys can also see that this holiday season. There's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff. You don't know what someone's going through, and you don't want to be the person that pushes someone over the line, especially in this day and age, because it can get pretty dangerous out there for people that are pushed beyond that spot, and no human deserves that. Good person, bad person, doesn't matter. Be, your best self, and when you fail, dust yourself off, apologize, and first foot forward. So I guess I just had to get that off my chest. I appreciate everybody that follows me. I appreciate White Sox Twitter. I appreciate Cubs Twitter. I appreciate the friends that I've made on there, and I do genuinely apologize for not being my best self. For failing to be a good person that I believe myself to be. And I promise you guys, I don't believe myself to be better than anybody else, except in skee ball. I will own you all. So Pete, I hope you guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry I had to kind of close it on a note like that, but I just had to get that off my chest. It's been wearing on me for almost a week now. And I do appreciate you guys for listening to the show. I appreciate you guys for making me laugh as much as you do. So I do thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm going to let Pete take you guys on out. I'm going to go and stick my head in the toilet bowl and flagellate myself with a cat of nine tails. Not really, but again, I appreciate you guys all, and be your best self for everybody. And for those of you that are struggling, trust me, everyone's going through some stuff right now, and we're with you. All right, we're in this boat together.
Let me just say one thing, and I'm going to say something about you. It takes a man of true character to say and do what you just did. So if anyone wants to question your character, I will tell them to go to hell, because the sign of true character is what you just did. So take that however you want. I applaud you and your character, because we all make mistakes. Like you said, everyone makes mistakes. But you're man enough to stand there and say, hey, maybe I did some things that weren't right. I apologize. And again, that's a sign of real character. And, I'll leave it at that, because there's a lot more things I would like to say, but it would accomplish nothing. So I will just leave it at that. Everyone's got your back, so don't worry about it. But with that, we want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank you for listening, for watching, for your feedback. Hit the like button. Tell us we're great. Tell us we suck. Let us know what you think. If you got any ideas for the future, please feel free to let us know. And as my partner succinctly said, it's the holiday season. Let's just be nice to each other. When a person smiles at you, smile back. When they say hello, say hello. When they say happy holidays, say happy holidays back, except if they're Packer fans. And with that, do you want to say something?
No, I was agreeing.
Oh, yeah. And with that, is the wise man with us today by chance? Okay. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the true wise man of the 108. And I'm just going to say, yeah, dog, take it away. And aloha.